Hey guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Roots Duty podcast. It is so amazing to have you here with me. Guys, I know, it has been a minute since we last had this conversation. And first of all, I've got to apologize for that. I am so sorry. You know what happened? So I realized that something was happening that had happened in the previous time, and like it happened with 1 week. There was 1 week where everything lined up that I really could not put an episode, or at least I could say that to myself. And the next thing I knew was that the other week came and the same thing. And I realized that, oh my goodness, this was becoming a habit because if some of my day ones, you guys remember I used to do this podcast like a while back, and that was exactly what happened. 1 week happened where I did not post, and 1 week turned to two, turned to a month, turned to, and I was like, oh my goodness, that is not going to repeat itself this time. And so, guys, I'm going to try to do my best to always show up. I really do owe you guys that. I really believe I owe you guys that. I have a responsibility. If you're going to trust me with your time, the least I could do or I should do is be consistent in delivering what I am promising, right? Okay. So I am sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry. And that will not happen again. You get to see me every week again, just like we were having that. So, guys, how have you been? Okay. So, what has life been teaching me recently? What is that one lesson that I have been seeing come at me over and over again? This is what I've been learning, or something I've been learning more than I have. Just this is what I've been learning. Um, I am learning that, let me put it this way first, that the spark I see in my neighbor's eyes is actually a log in mine. Now, what that means is that I've realized that that thing that I tend to judge more, that I tend to be triggered by the most, that like if I see something in someone and I get to judging it and I get to putting it in a negative light, I realize that most times that is actually something that I do that is in me, that is probably something, it's usually something in myself that to an extent I probably am trying to deny its existence. Or like there's this thing that used to happen years back. I really hope it doesn't happen again. But it was during in those days when there was still like this real stigma towards the LGBT community and all of that. And when most times you'll find out that the person who is persecuting the gay guy the most is actually someone with a very hidden, like closeted gay tendency. Now that's like going to the extreme on that, but I am hoping this analogy would kind of like help you understand that I realized that that thing that makes me want to pull out the sword in another man is usually something is usually triggered by or linked to or in line with something that actually does exist in myself that I am trying to deny, I am trying to repress, I am trying to, or I see as a weakness or something, and that's what I find that I persecute the most in. So, what this realization is actually teaching me is honestly okay. So I was reading a book. It's called Conscious Parenting by Shefali Tasbury, and there was this line she said in the book that really struck me. Oh, I had it opened, but okay, I found it. Okay, she said that once you realize that there are no enemies, only guides to inner growth. Let me take that again. Once you realize that there are no enemies, only guides to inner growth. All who play a part in your life become mirrors to your forgotten self. And if you really think about it, is there somebody or something that you just seem to always get offended by? Is there something that most times I'm learning to use these triggers and this discomfort as a pointing sign? Because in the book she was talking about how it's, although it's a common spiritual knowledge, how the unconsciousness and consciousness, they actually coexist on the same plane. And most times in that point of our deepest unconsciousness, like when you realize that something is actually more a product of, like, I catch myself doing this a lot, like when I'm doing things that I am telling myself that, oh, I should be better than this, but I catch myself in acts that I really don't want to be doing. And instead of going all judgy and all of that, I'm learning more to look at it, to first of all, before I deny it, because sometimes it's very easy. You see something, and maybe, let me say, maybe it was something like maybe jealousy towards something, and you get jealous and you're like, I didn't get jealous. But deep down, you felt something or something like that. Like, just think about it. Whatever the feeling might be, that thing that seems like it's someone else who is making you angry. It is someone else who is offending you, which most times I'm learning to use that as a trigger. I'm like, okay, this person is being a pain in my butt. Now, what thorn exists in my butt that this person's presence is pressing? Why was that analogy? But I hope it helped pass the message across. But I'm realizing that most times that thing that really does get me triggered on the outside is usually a product of a weakness. Or and here's the thing about weaknesses is that I'm learning that we can actually turn our weaknesses to strength. So the fact that something is a weakness today does not mean it has to be a weakness all of your life. That the fact that you struggle with A today does not mean that you have to struggle with A all of your life. Like, it's one of the things that I realize makes us so fascinating as humans is our ability to change. Like, we have an ability to, unlike a bunch of animals and whatnot, where instant response. We actually have said, I think it was Stephen Covey that says, in between stimuli and response is our ability to choose. We actually have the ability to choose. And that choice, our ability to choose to act differently, to respond different, enables us to be able to change the trajectory of our path, to change the trajectory of our lives, to change what seems like is fixed, because we actually have the ability to change things. We humans are amazing, and we are blessed. We actually are blessed. So, guys, I think that's what I just decided to hop on here to share with you. Just kind of like, just let me be that person who will tell you that, that thing that is really pissing you off that someone else is doing is actually because it is linked to something on the inside of you. And before you go fighting Mr. B for being a pain in your butt, you might want to sit with Mr. A, which is yourself, and ask yourself, why am I so triggered by this? Like, why is this getting to me on the level it is getting to me? Because I believe that is how we can begin to, um, that's how we can begin to take control enough to be able to dictate, to respond and not just react. Like, oh, Mr. A comes and, have you ever seen, okay, when we were growing up, like, there were kids that had this particular insult that you never said to them. Like, if you said it to them, it was like they just got crazy and they are no longer thinking, and they're like, yes. And it's most like, just like what I'm saying, it's because that what triggers something to, did you watch House of Dragons? Are you watching House of Dragons? But remember, I can't remember her name. Wow. Well, her name was very complicated. I just realized I never learned it. But the queen and her sons, and how they're bastards, and how growing up when they were really young, they used to get really crazy when someone actually did call them a bastard. But the reason why they reacted, because if they knew there were no bastards, like probably they had like the blonde hair and the all of that, you could call them a bastard a billion times and they probably cut off your tongue or something, because there were no bastard. But the fact that They know that deep down in them, they knew that what that person was saying was true, was the reason why they usually they responded with taking someone's eyes out. Yeah, one of the kid actually did that. He took someone's. Is this spoilers? Well, I am sorry. Go and watch House of Dragons if it's your thing. If it's not, it's alright. You ain't got to do it. Okay, guys. So if you get intrigued by someone, if you were judging another man, please look inwards and let's try to figure out, okay, what really is it about this situation that is getting to me on this level that it is getting to me. All right, guys. I am so glad to be back. No, really, though. It is so amazing to be back. And Heavenly Father, help me go on. I'm going to try my best now to not break it. And please forgive me once again for breaking it. I'm going to try my best to keeping at it. And so, guys, I would see you next week. Definitely. I'm not going to be saying I'll see you in the next episode because I started to say that close to the end, but this is it. I am going to see you next week. But until then, you keep growing. All right, guys. Bye. Bye, guys.